This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 607. And joining me today is Devin Engel. Devin, how are you, my man? Good to see you.
Doing good. You know, we've been talking about doing a little collab for the past few years now. Finally happening. I'm excited.
Dude, hell yeah. Tell people what you do and kind of who you are.
So I'm Devin Engel, 22 years old, live down here in Southern California. I do the Here We Go show where basically sit down, talk Pittsburgh Steelers topics, whatever comes to mind, whatever interesting topic comes to mind, or if there's anything creative I want to do. Pretty much like a mini little podcast. Every video is like, I don't know if y'all want, Quincy. Same style as him, pretty much. Call me the Steelers Quincy Carrier.
Sure. Yeah, no, as far as I know, you're the best Steelers fan I've ever met, right? Like, you're the guy I know that you're the Steelers guy. And I want to talk about Pittsburgh. We'll start there. What do you make of their quarterback, Kenny Pickett? Because I was really excited going into the year. I had high hopes for him. I thought he was going to be incredible. He has not been incredible. In fact, the Steelers' offense has been frustratingly bad. What do you make of that so far?
Yeah, man, he's making me look really stupid, you know?
Me too. Dude, me too. I'm killing. I want it. Oh.
Yeah, man, so his rookie year, he wasn't nothing amazing, right? He wasn't Mahomes, obviously. But he showed promise. We all saw that. And then going into year two, I spent the whole offseason giving him his praises and everything. Oh, he's going to make a big year two leap. He's going to be really good. I said some stupid shit about him. I said, he could sneak into the MVP conversation. Yeah, week one, I went to that game. That was depressing. He's making a lot of really bad decisions. Go ahead.
I will say, in fairness, they played the Browns defense, right? So, that was week two. Oh no.
Week one was the 49ers. Week two was the Browns.
Now, I guess that's what I'm saying. They started off against, the two worst teams you probably could start a season off quarterback-wise, right? If you're a young quarterback trying to play good in your career early on, the 49ers and the Browns are not exactly inviting good games for a young quarterback's confidence.
Oh, no, I agree. So that's what I said going, I guess, leaving the 49ers and then the Browns game. I'm saying, okay, you know what? He looked bad, but if you're going to look bad, it better be against Cleveland. It better be against San Francisco. But then he continued to look, he got a little better versus the Vegas in week 3. But week 4, his play kind of took another drop. Week 5 versus Baltimore, his play kind of took another drop. It's depressing to watch. This kid with so much promise in year one, just where is it? He's missing a lot of the gimmies.
That's where I kind of want to ask you, does he have a lot of promise? Because he's got an average arm. I like him, but he's got an average arm. We know the small hands thing. I don't know how much that matters, but he's not an amazing athlete. He's certainly a better athlete than, say, Mac Jones or Kirk Cousins, but he's not making a ton of plays outside of the pocket. Do you think Pittsburgh, if the year continues the way it is it worth just replacing him? Is there a reason to keep Kenny Pickett long term? I know you're invested in him. You got a first-round pick in him. But is there a possibility the Steelers move off of Kenny Pickett after this year?
It really depends. There's the one aspect I think about is, how much of it is, obviously he's been bad, right? Yeah. That said, the offensive coordinator's not exactly setting him up to succeed either. I think about all the third down plays where all the routes are hitch routes short of the sticks. It's what are we doing here? So how much of it is Kenny? Obviously a lot's on him. He's not performing well at all. How much of it is the offensive coordinator not setting him up to succeed? The other question is the team's not going to be bad enough to get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft, right? You're not going to get a Drake May. You're obviously not going to get a Caleb Williams. So it's who do you replace him with? I mean, Kirk Cousins, maybe. We talked about that. That could be interesting. At the same time, it's do we want to put that kind of money into the quarterback? I mean, we have the highest paid defense in football. Should we? I don't know. I don't know what you do there, honestly.
Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks allows you to make an entry based on player projections, and in 60 seconds, you could enter something like Travis Kelce more than 5 catches, Tyreek Hill more than 100 yards receiving, and Justin Fields less than 200 yards passing. And if your picks are right, you can win money. Making picks makes games more engaging, and you could turn something like $5 into 50. Prize Picks offers quick and easy deposits. You can even use Apple Pay. And they have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. For example, there's a weekly event called Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS, for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. What about the idea? So I think you fire Matt Canada before you get rid of Kenny Pickett, right? Like if one's gonna take the fall, it's got to be Matt Canada, not the young quarterback.
Yeah.
But what if you bring in Kirk Cousins for 2 years? I think Pittsburgh's ready to win, man. Like, they've got good pieces there. They get the right offensive coordinator. They've got an incredible defense. And if they add Kirk Cousins, I think they're a playoff team. Maybe you do what the Jets have done with Zach Wilson, is you bring in Kirk Cousins for, 2 years maybe. Let Kenny Pickett sit, learn some lessons, grow, develop, learn the system, so that when he becomes elevated back to becoming a starting quarterback again, he's not learning a new system in his first year. He's not got a bad offensive coordinator. He knows the system. He's been mentored under Kirk Cousins. How does that idea sound to you? Is that possible? Does that sound like a plan that would work for you as a Steelers fan?
It sounds interesting. Look, it's never going to be sexy me bringing in Kirk Cousins. What I will say is you're going to eliminate a lot of the bad decision-making by bringing in Kirk Cousins. At the same time, when has the Steelers' offense been most effective? I think it's when Kenny Pickett's been under the most pressure, specifically like late game or close to the end of the first half. Does Kirk Cousins perform well under pressure? I don't know, but also Kirk Cousins most probably will perform better the first 3 quarters of the game, unlike Mr. Kenny Pickett. As much as I love him, it sounds interesting, could work.
Yeah,
I just question, like, how much does he want to get paid, I don't know.
Yeah, does it make sense financially? But does losing make sense financially? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm really I'm frustrated and concerned with Kenny Pickett because last year he made mistakes early on, had a couple interceptions. I think some of them weren't his fault. I did a film analysis breakdown of this. It sucks. I made a video literally titled Kenny Pickett's going to be much better this year, right? So something like that. And then the video first of all, it was horribly inaccurate. Like, my prediction just fell off a cliff. And then the video actually got copyright struck, and I had to take it down. I'm like, I feel weird because I wanted to leave it up as, like, record of my being wrong, but I literally couldn't. And so what I saw on film, though, last year was Kenny Pickett, a young quarterback who had some interceptions early on. I thought got better as the year went on, made a lot of plays outside of the pocket, was really accurate, though, had a really good connection with George Pickens, a young receiver. This year we haven't seen much of any of that. We haven't seen him be really accurate. He had a couple touchdowns early on this year that I thought he missed, like throws that were open that he didn't hit. He hasn't had a great connection with George Pickens, who I thought was going to have – I really thought George Pickens was going to have, like, an incredible, incredible year this year. I was vying really hard to try to pick him up in fantasy. I'm actually glad I didn't because it wouldn't have worked out. But, man, I've been so disappointed by Kenny Pickett's drop-off in performance, doing stuff he simply didn't do last year. His connection with George Pickens isn't great. He looks lost. He looks confused. He's really taken a step backward in my eyes, and it's just really concerning. And I understand you blame Matt Canada, but at some point you look at Kenny Pickett and go, how high is his ceiling really? Are you comfortable with the talent level Kenny Pickett has? Like, is that the guy you want for 20 years, or would you rather get someone more like, I don't know, Anthony Richardson, Justin Herbert, a guy who's got a bigger arm, more talented? I'm throwing names out there like Cam Ward is really interesting. He's a really talented quarterback. How do you feel about Kenny Pickett's talent level and his I guess, ceiling as a quarterback?
Oh, talent-wise, no doubt. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes, obviously. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of someone talent-wise is similar. I would say maybe has a stronger arm than Gardner Minshew. I haven't seen enough Minshew to say that.
Tony Romo is a great comparison. I think they're very similar physically. Like, that's a fit, like, as far as an athlete, as far as arm strength. I see Kenny Pickett as a mini version of what maybe could become Tony Romo someday.
Yeah, see, like, when Tony Romo was good, I was too young to admit that I've ever watched a ton of him. But yeah, like, I mean, from what I have seen it, like, I caught the tail end of Tony Romo's career.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But yeah, talent wise, I don't know. So when we picked up Kenny Pickett, you gotta know, going into 2022, I wanted us to get Malik Willis. And when we took Kenny Pickett, I was kind of like, oh, really? We got the less talented guy? But then I sat down, watched the film, and look, I don't understand watching. Like, I don't have as complex of an understanding of offense, reading the defense as probably you or Brett Coleman do.
Sure.
But what I saw was, I thought he made good decisions. I thought he was super accurate throwing on the run. But I was watching him, like the one thing he's got to fix is bailing out of clean pockets often. I think he struggled beating a blitz a lot in college. Like, he tried beating it with his legs way too much rather than with a throw. And that's stuff that still hasn't gotten fixed, I think. And I continue, like, he got himself hurt this year doing that. There was a rep with, it was Broderick Jones was in at left tackle. It was a good rep. Kenny had the pocket, clean pocket, bailed right out, took a sack, hurt his knee. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I convinced myself, oh yeah, this is going to be the guy, but as the weeks go on, it's like, is he? I want him to be the guy. It's a good story. Like, I think if he's going to succeed, it's got to be with the decision making,
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to call him Tom Brady, obviously, but like, Tom Brady's not this massive athlete or anything, but he made a career out of elite decision making. That's what I'm hoping Kenny can get to. Do I believe he can get to that? My belief in that is waning, as the weeks go on.
Yeah, as he makes more and more bad decisions, it's like, what are we doing? Like, at some point, this has to get better, right? And that's why I wonder, like, I just go back to this. You're going to fire Matt Canada after the year. That feels pretty imminent. Like, whether, maybe even midseason. Although, I don't know. I want to say, by the way, I was so wrong about Matt Canada. I thought that keeping him was a good thing. I really did, because I didn't like the idea of Kenny Pickett, in his second year of his NFL career, having to learn a new system. That felt really uncomfortable to me. I'm like, let's just rock with what we got. Kenny Pickett can stay in the system he's comfortable in, master it even further. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't have to learn any new verbiage. In fact, he can just go to a new level and maybe make calls at the line of scrimmage, which he wasn't allowed to do last year. Can call hot routes, stuff like that. And I've been horribly wrong, man. Like, he's just not been good. And so I think you fire Matt Canada. But I go back to that question, like, given his decision-making's been bad, given he's got kind of an average arm, given that he's not a crazy good athlete, like, what's the positive? I've been looking for the positive thing in Kenny Pickett. Like, what's worth keeping here? I don't see much, and I don't like that, because I like him as a human. But I've been waiting and waiting. And is there anything that you can think of? You watched every Steelers game. What's, like, the positive thing you've seen, if any, that's worth redeeming and keeping him for next year?
See, that's the thing. A lot of what I liked about him was in his rookie year. I thought he was. I thought when it mattered most, I thought he had some pinpoint accuracy. He had some incredible ball placement. And I thought that got better this past preseason. Like, some of the throws he was making were just beautiful. Back shoulder fades and all that. Like, I really liked his accuracy, but it's like nowadays I think it was a third down. I forgot if it was against Houston or against Baltimore. But there was a second or third down play where he just missed Allen Robinson, like, way over his head. It's like, that's an easy throw. How do you miss that? Yeah. I'm hoping it's just a funk. Like, I play softball, right? And I've had a really weird hitting funk. I was one of the better hitters on the team. Took a weird drop-off. I don't know why. And then I'm kind of getting back into the groove of things. I'm really hoping that's what's up with Kenny Pickett. But I don't know. I'm not losing patience, It's just, I start to question more and more. Like, shit, is he the guy? I don't know.
Let's talk about Najee Harris, a guy that the Steelers drafted in the first round, running back. I think physically he's got all the stuff. He's big. He's got the measurables. But he's been a really big disappointment there. In fact, Calvin Austin, correct me, is that the right name? The other running back who's been doing interesting stuff? Who's the other running back?
Jalen Warren. He was undrafted last year. Yeah,
so Jalen Warren has been, I think, outperforming Najee Harris, who was a first-round pick. What do you make of that situation in Pittsburgh? Was that a bust? Was that a bad pick? Like, why isn't Najee Harris working out?
I saw someone say this, and I kind of like the sound of it. I don't understand the running game too much.
Sure.
At a complex level to know exactly what's going on. Is it bad decision making or what? But someone said that I think Najee Harris is trying to be Le'Veon Bell. Patient at the line, trying to find the hole. when he should just be a downhill runner, just run straight.
Yeah, hit the whole hard, run through it. Yeah, be physical.
Yeah, and then you see him. He likes dancing behind the line of scrimmage. He made a lot of bad plays doing that last year. And
well, that's not his game. I gotta say, he doesn't have burst. By the way, like when he gets beyond the line of scrimmage, and he's just not a guy that can get to the second level. There is no acceleration beyond. He's got like one gear basically. It's like driving a tractor, and you're like, it doesn't go any faster, man. Like what's happening here? Continue on. I'm sorry, but what I've seen of Najee Harris is a guy who just doesn't have burst the way that like even Jaylen Warren does, and you're like, oh man, this is a guy they drafted in the first round. Like there's so many picks they could have made there in the first round rather than Najee Harris if that's what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah, like so going into 2021 when we drafted him, I guess in the offseason I was like, Scott, okay, who should the Steelers take? Everyone was saying, take Najee Harris, guy out of Alabama, he's playing really well. And I kind of got on that train. I'm like, Najee's a guy who we didn't have a good offensive line at all going into 21. But I was like, in my head, I was watching Najee make plays at Alabama. I was like, this kid's special. He could probably succeed in spite of the line. No, absolutely not. That has not been the case. And we took him with our 24th overall pick when guys like Creed Humphrey were still on the board over in Kansas City. Then we took this is unrelated, but we also took Pat Freiermuth. I love Pat Freiermuth. Could definitely use help on the offensive line right now instead of a tight end who, by the way, is out on Sunday. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, it's like the more and more time goes on, like Najee doesn't have speed, doesn't have explosion. There's a reason he doesn't have breakaway runs. Like I think he's had one ever against Cleveland in Ben's final home game. And even then, it's like that should be a clear path for any running back to get a touchdown. Almost got tackled. He got there, but it's like, this man's slow. There's no explosion, And then I watched Jaylen Warren, and whether you want to say Jalen's better or not than Najee Harris, what you can't deny is for whatever it is, the Steelers' offense is just more explosive with him on the field. Whether that's just because he gets spread out wide more often, whether that's just... you're not going to use Najee Harris the same way you use Jaylen Warren. Like I've seen plays where the thing with Jaylen, the thing that makes Steeler fans so hesitant about Jaylen Warren is they don't know if he can be a 3-down back, and that's fair.
What does that mean though when they say that? Like I've always heard that. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Like he can't win on 3rd down? Like is that basically what people are saying when they say that?
I think what they're saying is they don't believe he can be an every down back, which is weird because, and I know it's college, but the one year he was an every down back in college back at I think it was Oklahoma State. He was one of the better running backs in college football. Once again, it's college, and you can't compare it like that.
Well, let me ask, does that mean, like, are people saying that because on, like, 3rd and short, they don't want him running the ball inside the tackles? Is that kind of what their approach is? Like, do you know why, like, that they're saying that?
I'm not too sure. I think they see a guy who's smaller. I think Jaylen Warren's, like, 5'10".
Yeah.
And there are plays where they have run him inside, and he just got stuffed. Maybe he's not built for that kind of game, but at the same time, maybe you just don't use him for that kind of game,
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, I definitely want to see more Jaylen Warren and less Najee. Steelers fans are afraid to call him a bust. I'm like, whatever you want to call him, it's not working.
Yeah, definitely. I want to say something. I really think that you've come on the show and been really, really honest and open, and I think you're going to get criticized a little bit for the couple of times you said, like, I don't know film as well as this, or I don't know the run game as well as this. I think that's actually great, and I want to normalize that. I really want to come to your, maybe preemptively to your defense. I think that when you don't know the answer in life, in any aspect, it's good to say, like, I don't know. And I can already feel, like, the comments going, like, oh, this guy doesn't. I hate that so much. The worst thing you can do in the sports media is pretend you know something that you don't know. That's the kind of garbage Stephen A. Smith does every single day on his show, and it drives me nuts. And so I just want to come out ahead of anyone out there who's going to criticize you and say thank you for the couple times you admitted, like, I don't know the answer to this. Because I think people, I don't know why people are this way, but they want everyone to be an expert on every little thing in a really nuanced, incredibly complicated game of football. And I wanted to talk as a Steelers fan, not to break down the film for the Steelers. And so I just wanted to say thank you for for the times you've acknowledged you don't know, because that's just a thing we need to do in sports media more regularly anyway. And at the end of the day, everyone watching sports is a fan of football, and I've been really getting on this. I don't know if it's like I said the F-bomb like twice on the show when I recorded last night talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, because people have been calling him a bust after he's played in 4 games, 6 games into the year. it drives me crazy. How in the world is it a reasonable thing to say that Jahmyr Gibbs, the Detroit Lions running back, 4 games into his career is a bust? That's the most absurd, ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Can you comment on the state of the sports media in general? Because I am kind of at my wit's end. I'm really getting kind of bent out of shape and frustrated with the way that things are going. Like, we don't seem to care about nuance. We don't seem to care about accuracy. We don't seem to care about admitting when you're wrong. People just seem to enjoy when people yell and scream and have these crazy emotional takes. And I'm like, my view of the sports media could not be any worse. So what's your take on sports media right now and the way things are going?
Oh, no, yeah, it's crazy. Everything's like hot take. It's black and white, angry or happy. You know, there's no, like you said, there's no nuance. I mean, we don't have cable here. So I don't have the privilege of watching First Take, First Things First, or whatever shows are out there. But a lot of it is like very emotional, you know, and it's like, you get it, you know, these are like, I don't agree with it, but I get it, you know, ESPN, CBS Sports, all these, they want you to have the emotional take, something they can post on social media, that'll get a bunch of likes. I think I saw some quarterback ranking the other day. It was Patrick Mahomes was ranked as the 3rd best quarterback in the NFL. It's like, what are we talking about? You know?
That's the most absurd thing ever. He's the best ever to walk the face of the earth, and it's not even close.
Yeah, it's silly. It's like, look, they don't care about being honest, you know? They care about, you know, the clicks and shit like that. That's why, look, I mean, I did one film break. I never do film breakdowns.
Yeah.
You know? Like, if I do it, I want to know what I'm talking about. There was a play to George Pickens where, I don't know why, but the Ravens ran cover 0 with George Pickens on the field. It's like, what are you doing? That touchdown.
Dude, I loved that throw. It was amazing. Oh, that's might be the best play Kenny Pickett's had all year, by the way. That fade ball to George Pickens for the game-winning touchdown. Yes. Sorry to take your thunder.
You're good.
Oh, man, that moment was amazing.
Oh, yeah, that was like the best throw of his career. Like, I'd like to see more of that, but like, okay, it's like, if I'm sitting here as a fan, just going to go hang out on a Friday night, if I can watch that and say, hey, there's no high safeties, George Pickens is one-on-one, what are you doing? Like, I don't know who the Ravens defensive coordinator is, but it's like, that doesn't sound like a great idea to me. Like, where does George Pickens work best? Is one-on-one. Yeah. Why would you leave him isolated, you know, on the outside? And sure enough, it was a touchdown, but like, when I'm gonna do film breakdowns, I'm gonna try to know what I'm talking about. That's why I never do them. Yeah. Because I really like. I could tell you cover 2, I could tell you cover 3, but that's about as far as it goes for me in terms of like if I wanted to analyze a quarterback. But yeah, I try to be honest on my show. When I'm like, I'm not no film expert. I'm not Brett Coleman. It'd be cool, but I'm not. You know.
What I like about you, if I may, is you're tapped into the Steelers community in a way that I'm not. Like I've watched I don't know how many Steelers games. I mean, there's 16 games every week roughly, right? I'm one man. I can't watch every game every week. I've watched as many Steelers games as I can. Off the top of my head, I watched the Ravens game. I watched the Browns game. I watched there's another game I watched. I don't remember. I've watched at least 3, but you've watched every Steelers game. So I would look to you as a guy who you're more tuned into what's going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers than I am. So people like you are really valuable for people like me who just can't get to everything every week all the time. And I look at, like, for example, what was the controversy from that play? There was some controversy where I don't know the specifics of it, but there was like, did Kenny Pickett audible? Did he not? And then like, looked like I think the offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, after that touchdown didn't look happy. Can you break down that situation and kind of, I'm sure you know more about that than I do. What happened there?
Honestly, you got the pretty good gist of it. So originally what it sounds like is the play wasn't intended to be a go route by George Pickens. But the Ravens were showing 0, so I guess Kenny started calling, I think he was sending the protections at the line, Randy. Sounds like sliding the protection to the left. Sure enough, that's what happened. Then he had the touchdown. The CBS or whoever was broadcasting the game cut to Matt Canada. No emotion on his face. So Steeler fans are like, oh, did he even call that play? Did the Steelers offensive assistant Glenn Thomas call that play? Did Kenny go rogue and call that play? But that's about as far as it goes. People, like, if Matt Canada called the play, let's acknowledge that. But Steeler fans seem to hate him so much, and I understand it, you know. They seem to hate him so much that even when he calls a good play, they want to find a way to remove credit from him. I think that's frustrating for me. Like, I think he needs to go, but can we give him credit where it's due? Like, how about the fact that maybe he's not showing any emotion on that play because we ran a 2-point. We were trying to find a. What if he's trying to find a 2-point conversion call because we went for 2 after the touchdown. Like, someone pointed that out. I'm like, okay, that might explain more why he's showing no emotion.
Hey guys, it's kind of a big deal here. I'm actually trying to help you, so don't skip the ad. I know that when you listen to a podcast, you skip ahead. I know that because that's what I do, but don't skip this one. We got Factor as a sponsor, and I was sitting down to prepare my little ad read. They give, I write a piece of paper with a bunch of notes, and I'm like, okay, what are they offering? What's the deal here? Usually it's like 10 to 20%. Like, okay, factor.com/SOS, whatever. And no. They are offering 50% off to Strong Opinion Sports listeners. And here's what they are. Factor is a meal kit service. You can get 50% off. Go to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50. And straight up on a human level, if you'd be kind of silly not to investigate, it's a great deal. Factor is a meal kit service. They send you ready-to-eat meals. They're easy to prepare. For me, they showed up in a box with a bunch of high-quality ice packs. You take them out of the box, you put the meal kits in the fridge, and when you want food, you go to the fridge, you take it out, you put the thing in the microwave, you heat it up, 2 minutes later, you've got a really good meal ready to go. Now, the microwave part made me kind of go, what is this? Is it a bunch of TV dinners? Like, what is this crap? No. This is phenomenal food. It's high quality. It's never frozen. And compared to all the other options you can have for a quick and easy meal, it kind of kicks booty and is phenomenal. So what I really think is interesting, too, there's so many ways to customize your order, whether maybe you're on a diet and you're like, hey, I'm trying to cut calories. There are low-calorie options. Or maybe you just want really good food that's easy to make and doesn't take 30 minutes to an hour out of your time cooking during the day. Like for me, I'm really busy with football season, and it's an incredibly valuable thing for me to go to my fridge, grab a really good meal, pull it out, put it in the microwave. 2 minutes later, I've got a good meal ready to go. I saved a lot of time. It's cheaper for you and better than takeout or delivery. I used to drive for a delivery service. Guys, those prices are not good compared to this. So, again, it's just nice to have the fridge loaded with high-quality, good meals that are easy to prepare. And you can get 50% off of this meal kit service. Do the math. That's a really good offer. So head to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50 to get 50% off. That is factormeals.com/SOS50. Use code SOS50 to get 50% off. Again, code SOS50 at factormeals.com/SOS50 to get 50% off. And guys, it's a great offer. You would be silly. I'm trying to help you. Like, that would be a great thing to investigate because it's legitimately a great deal. Food's expensive right now, and having food that's great and convenient and not terrible for you is a rare thing. So investigate it. factormeals.com/SOS50. I was looking this up. I wanted to figure out who the play caller was at Washington, to be sure. I don't know. As far as I can tell, the play caller at University of Washington is, let me find the name. It is Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb at Washington has done a really good job. When I watched the Oregon game, for example, they messed around with their alignment regularly. They were moving players in and out and using different formations to cause the defense and usually the safeties to widen and have a harder time defending stuff. And when you for example, they put a receiver out in a tight split and then had a tight end also next to him. And as the tight end ran up the seam, the corner had to automatically, because of the way the receiver was lined up, have an outside alignment, giving you a free release inside. They stick on an out, like on a, they lean outside the receiver and then breaks on a post inside. Because the corner has outside leverage, you beat him inside really easily. That's the kind of stuff I want to see Pittsburgh do with George Pickens. Excuse me. The way you can mess with alignment and mess with formations to create one-on-one coverage or a more favorable matchup for a really good receiver like George Pickens, the kind of stuff that Washington does all the time with the really good receivers that Pittsburgh does not appear to be doing is driving me crazy. Like Ryan Grubb, if that's really the dude, the mastermind behind the Washington offense, that's the kind of person Pittsburgh needs to hire as their next offensive coordinator. A guy who can take advantage of, you got some good players in Pittsburgh. I really like George Pickens. He's like this. Again, I think potential to be a Marvin Harrison type one-on-one matchup nightmare. You've got Pat Freiermuth, who's amazing over the middle, beats linebackers, is really good at finding like green grass and zone coverage, which if there's two defenders, we saw this when we watched Thursday Night Football last night. A couple times, Chris Olave for the Saints ran into zone coverage where you see two defenders in front of him. You don't attack either defender. You find the green grass between them and turn around and get your numbers to the quarterback. That's the kind of stuff Pat Freiermuth does really well. Deontay Johnson's a really good speed threat. Like, there are so many players in Pittsburgh that I think you could take advantage of scheme-wise to be really good, but they're not doing that. And sorry, I'm just telling you because I haven't had an outlet to talk about this at all year. And I really think that if they can bring someone like Ryan Grubb, the Washington Huskies offensive coordinator, in to be the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, it's going to go really, really well. And so I don't know what your reaction is to that, but I just wanted to, I don't think I've had an outlet all year to kind of let this out and tell someone I want to see a better person calling the shots in Pittsburgh and doing a better job creating matchups for people like George Pickens. When you talk about Mike Tomlin, what are the I know there are criticisms of him. What are your critiques of Mike Tomlin?
I mean, off the top of my head, man, I just think he's really in love and will not deviate from running cover 2 all day. And, I mean, I look at the Houston game, C.J. Stroud was picking apart the middle of the field all game long. And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, are we running anything other than cover 2? I don't know. So, after most of the games, I'll jump into, like, all the game breakdowns, people who do know how to watch film. And they're saying, oh, yeah, no, Mike Tomlin, he's running way too much cover 2. I mean, he's not the defensive play caller, but that has been his calling card ever since I think he got hired. I think he came over from Minnesota or Tampa.
He came from Minnesota, correct?
Yeah.
I think he did coach for both though.
Yeah, I think he won a Super Bowl with Tampa as an assistant.
Yeah.
Cover 2's been his thing his whole career, and it's like I said, I don't know defense too well. I try to be honest there.
Well, can I challenge you actually in one way?
Yeah.
Like, challenge is not the word. I want to have a conversation about this idea because I've heard a lot of people in the Steelers community say, well, our defense is making too many mistakes, blah, blah, blah. But also, I think couldn't you make the argument that the only reason why the Steelers are 3-2 is because of their defense? So, as a guy who my criticism of Mike Tomlin is that he's just not the best coach in the NFL. He regularly gets out adjusted, and I'd put him as like a B-tier coach. He's certainly not Sean McVay. He's not Mike McDaniel. He's not Kyle Shanahan. But he's never been awful. So I think that's kind of where he has a limited ceiling, maybe similar to their quarterback, actually Kenny Pickett. But he's never been horrible.
Can I pause
what would
right
you say
there?
How would you respond to me saying well, if you're going to criticize Mike Tomlin for his defensive play calling or defense, I think in the same breath you also have to acknowledge it seems to me like the reason why they're 3-2 is certainly not because of their offense. It's because their defense is carrying a heavy load. What do you think of that idea?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think of the Cleveland game off the top of my head. I don't think our offense scored a single touchdown that day. Maybe we did. I don't remember. That was like a month ago. But that game was certainly won by the defense. The game against Baltimore, certainly won by obviously he had the big touchdown of Georgia we were talking about. But without the defense, we lose that game. And certainly if Lamar's receivers catch a pass or two, we lose that game. Yeah, that's also fair. That's the thing. I just think when we get picked apart the worst, such as the Houston game, is when Mike Tomlin seems to make very few adjustments, whether it's personnel or whether it's coverage, or the scheme on defense. But at the same time, it's like, how strong is that argument if we're 3-2? I think we went into the bye week on top of the division. Not anymore. I think Baltimore and Cleveland and Cincinnati all won. Yeah, it's like without the defense, we are 3-2. I think the defense gets.
I'll say that Houston game for me was irritating because I thought, while C.J. Stroud did look really good, right, the rookie quarterback for Houston, and that you don't love that if you got a great defense, a rookie quarterback picking you apart. The thing that was more glaring and really felt like a punch in the jaw was that C.J. Stroud outperformed your first round pick, second year quarterback Kenny Pickett, and you're like, what? How can this happen? I really think that I don't know what it's going to take to get Mike Tomlin out of Pittsburgh. I don't know that I would even. I think a really, really a person with no patience would probably fire Mike Tomlin. I don't know that I would, but I also don't know that my opinion matters. I know that I don't think Pittsburgh's going to fire Mike Tomlin because they like to. He's probably going to be there till he retires. He's never lost a season. He's won a Super Bowl. And the way Pittsburgh rolls, how many coaches have they had? Like, it's like 4, 5, 6, like some really crazy low number. Like, they've had basically a coach for like 20 years, multiple times, and then that's it. Coaches stay there for forever and leave when they want to, not when they're forced to. And because he's never had a losing season, I just can't imagine a situation where Pittsburgh goes, we want to win a Super Bowl now. We're going to get rid of this guy. But that might be what it takes. It might be, hey, we no longer are happy with having a B-tier coach. We want someone A-plus level, Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan type of coach. And you might have to take the risk of losing a B-tier coach to go try to get an A-plus tier coach. What's it going to take for... Is there ever a world where Pittsburgh fires Mike Tomlin in your eyes?
No, like as much. See, me, I want to get an offensive guy in the head coaching position.
Yeah.
But will Pittsburgh fire? No, dude, they won't even fire Matt Canada, dude. Like, you think they're gonna fire Mike Tomlin? Won a Super Bowl for him. I think at the very worst, if they're gonna do anything, they'll force him into retirement, maybe. But I don't see that happening either. No, they're not going to fire Mike Tomlin. Like, there's the one thing I'll mention going into this season. So he signed a contract extension before, I think it was 2020 or 2021. I think it was a 3-year extension. And that contract is up after next season. Going into this season, they did not extend him, which people pointed out they thought was weird. There could be something there. I don't know why they didn't extend him. Like, maybe there's something there. I don't know. I just want to point one thing out. Do not go to Twitter and say Mike McDaniel's a better head coach than Mike Tomlin. You'll get crucified.
He is, though.
Yeah.
He is. No, Twitter's not a real place, man. Is that what James Chappelle said?
Yeah.
Can I say, I want to make this very clear. Like, I don't know how heavy my criticism of Mike Tomlin's come across. Like, call him a B-tier coach, whatever you want to do with that information. Be mad at me if you want. But what I will say is, like, I would love to be his quarterback. Like, I played quarterback, and I love Mike Tomlin, the man. Like, I can't imagine. I wish he hired better offensive coaches because I think the right quarterback with Mike Tomlin, like, Kenny Pickett, I don't know Kenny Pickett that well. I've not watched as many interviews as you probably have of him, but his personality seems very, like, monotone and not super excited. But I think if I was the quarterback in Pittsburgh, I would be like, dude, I would love to, like, be Mike Tomlin's quarterback. He'd have my back. He seems like a great boss. He's got this awesome personality, kind of a father figure. Like, I would look up to Mike Tomlin. I'd be in his office every day talking to him, trying to get life lessons. Like, he's been around the league. He knows so many things. And it's a shame that we can't see Mike Tomlin with a better quarterback and a better offense. Because I think that Mike Tomlin with the right quarterback, and that's why, like, Kirk Cousins excites me. Kirk Cousins, the goofy guy he is with the chain and, like, that kind of chaotic side of his personality would be such a fun, interesting experiment with Mike Tomlin. Like, that quarterback-coach combination sounds wildly interesting to me. And I want to see Mike Tomlin with a quarterback who's got more personality and who's got, I think, frankly, like, can you imagine Joe Burrow playing for Pittsburgh? Like, what that would be like? The cigar, the swagger, and then Mike Tomlin, and they come in, they just beat the crap out of your team on defense. Like, that's the kind of guy I want to see in Pittsburgh. Someone with a little more swagger and a little more confidence. And that's the aspect of Kenny Pickett that I think we've been missing, is that edge of his. There's no, like, he comes across kind of as very monotone and lukewarm, personality-wise. Am I wrong on that? You've probably watched way more interviews of Kenny Pickett than I have. What's your take on him as a leader and as a human and as a person and as a personality?
Yeah, I'll challenge you a little bit there. I think his swagger comes out when he's performing well. Like, there was a throw versus, I think it was in the preseason, versus Buffalo. It was a touchdown up the middle to Pat Freiermuth. Threw the touchdown, walks over to the sideline like Conor McGregor. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah.
I haven't. What do you do? Like, can you, like, mimic what did it look like? What did he...
It was like kind of waving his arms while he's walking,
Oh, like the little, yeah. Okay, I have seen that. I have seen that pic. Yeah, that video's amazing.
Yeah, no, like when he's playing well, he's got a real. I'd say he has an edge to him, regardless. Like, he'll fire back at the media if they ask him a stupid question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Well, I mean, I can give you an example. Last year versus Philly, you remember the Steelers got blown out. I don't even want to think of the score. But there was a pass that was, I think it was intercepted by Philly in the end zone, but it's Kenny's thing. He was trying to put the ball in the end zone, trying to get points on the board. They asked him about the interception. Kenny, did you want to throw up the ball there? Even though it was intercepted, he's like, did I want to put points on the board? Fuck yeah, I did. He didn't swear, but that was the first time we'd ever seen some fire from him.
I remember that interception. That's the one where he had Pat Fryermuth over the middle open and threw the ball the wrong trajectory. It got tipped by a linebacker, I think T.J. Edwards. It's T.J. Edwards, yeah. Ball tipped up in the air, picked off by his safety. Is that the one you're talking about? Do you remember? Is that...
I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think it was a throw specifically to the end zone.
I think he only had one against Pittsburgh. That's the one. It should have been a touchdown to Pat Fryermuth where... See, I watch way too much football. It's insanity. Like, I remember, because I watched that play like a month ago, maybe a month, 2 months ago, something like that. And it was a throw that Kenny Pickett should have had a touchdown on, and he just threw the ball wrong trajectory and allowed a linebacker to make a play on it. But he clapped back at the media. He chirped back and said, "Yeah, I want a touchdown." Like that, I didn't know that about him, and I like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's got a fire to him. Like, and then in terms of the leadership, I mean, I see him. I remember his first game versus the Jets. There was a play to I think it was George Pickens where I think the pass was complete. I forgot exactly what happened, but you saw him over. The camera got him, like, smacking him on the helmet. Let's go, like encouragement, Yeah, no, I think he's a pretty good leader, a damn good leader at that. I'd like to compare him to Brock Purdy in the work ethic aspect. Maybe he comes off a little cold. He's just so focused on the game. I mean, I read an article the other day, and maybe this is a lot of quarterbacks, and I'm just biased, but I mean, I read an article over the offseason that was talking about how Kenny would go into the practice facility, get some, watch a ton of film. I think they gave him his own little office to work in. Give him a facility he would go in there before the sun rises. He'd be gone after the sun sets. And then I'd watch his interviews. He sounds like a really hard worker and a film junkie, which is why it's so depressing to watch him not kind of live up to that on the field, Yeah, I think he's got a personality. I think when it comes to, just a casual Tuesday media interviews, he might come off a little monotone. But like when you really want to see some passion, I think it's there.
Well, you said something that I think really is valuable and maybe a great a combat. I don't know if the right word is there. It's a way to kind of put me in my place, I guess, for lack of a better term. I said maybe he's got no personality, but you could also say the same thing about Brock Purdy, who you brought up. Brock Purdy isn't this loud, boisterous, like he's not a comedian. He's not this loud, fun personality, but he's a stone cold killer. And you're right. That is kind of, as you said, Brock Purdy. That's kind of the approach Kenny Pickett seems to have. Very serious, very like low key, and just focused. And that's maybe it's not fair to criticize someone because I would never criticize Brock Purdy for being boring, right? Like he's just focused. So is Kenny Pickett. So I think as we have conversation about it, maybe that's an unfair thing to be critical of Kenny Pickett for, or even to comment on with Kenny Pickett, is that his personality isn't very exciting. Well, that's not his job. He's a quarterback. What's been the best thing about the Steelers season so far to you? They're 6 weeks in. They're 3-2. What's been the thing that stands out? You're like, that's been the best thing about Pittsburgh so far this year.
TJ Watt. That's about it. He has the same number of touchdowns as Najee Harris. Oh, no, he's got more touchdowns than Najee Harris. Do you know that? Najee Harris ain't scored a touchdown.
That's absurd.
TJ Watt's been a better. He has got more touchdowns than Najee Harris. No, but yeah, TJ Watt's been making like an insane impact on this team. Like even versus San Francisco, when like he was the only one that showed up to that game. It seemed like I don't want to be disrespectful to the rest of the team, but I mean when nobody was seemed to show up against San Francisco, it was TJ Watt that did. Forcing fumbles, sacks, and everything. Versus the Browns game, he scored the game-winning touchdown. I think versus Baltimore, he got a strip sack on Lamar. I forgot who forced the fumble, but TJ picked it up, slammed Lamar to the ground. That was fun. He's had the biggest impact on this team. Another guy that's been a pleasure to watch has you're probably not going to Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin. That dude, he's a rookie. He is. I saw a play versus Houston where I think it was a stun on the defensive line. He shifted out to I think it was the left tackle, threw his ass to the ground. It was like he's really fun to watch too when he's on the field. Joey Porter's fun to watch. Joey Porter Jr., who
baby.
That's one of them legacy picks.
He had that pick against the Ravens in the end zone, covering OBJ, where he just locked down Odell Beckham Jr. and made a pick on a fade ball, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the rookie cornerback playing well.
Yeah, and it's weird because they have his ass sitting on the bench, And I love Pat Pete. I love Patrick Peterson.
Yeah,
he's really old, he's really slow, and it's costing us in the secondary. Levi Wallace on the other side, he's not as old, but he gets burnt regularly. He's costing us in the secondary. Joey Porter's a guy that I think needs to be starting. He played 4 snaps at the beginning in the first half of the Baltimore game. Cool. The second half, they started him on defense, in base. No catches allowed. I think he allowed a 0 passer rating, which is, I don't know how much goes in. I don't know how valuable that is. But he would, when I watched the film, he was sticking to his guys, He's a guy I think we need to see a lot more of, if not starting already. I'd like to see him start in LA this weekend. But yeah, Joey Porter, he's been a pleasure to watch, and he talks a lot of shit just like his daddy, He got the pick, went over to the sideline talking with his boy. He's like, "Oh yeah, I locked Odell's old ass up." It's a pretty funny clip. I don't know if you've seen it.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, TJ Watt's been the biggest pleasure to watch on this team. Outside of him, it's been pretty depressing.
What about across the NFL? What stands out to you this year? Is there anything outside of Pittsburgh that you're like, oh, wow, that's impressive or surprising or exciting to you?
Oh, my God. Watching the Dolphins is so fun. I watch the Dolphins, and I'm like, why can't we have that, why is Mike Tomlin over here with Matt Canada? Look, I don't know who's in charge of hiring and firing Matt Canada, actually, or coaches in general. But how are we over here in Pittsburgh sitting here complacent with Matt Canada doing nothing, historically one of the worst coordinators, while Kyle Shanahan over in San Francisco is doing what he's doing. Mike McDaniel over in Miami's doing what he's doing. I get so jealous watching, I think they call it a cheat motion. They get Tyreek Hill running laterally before the snap starts, or before the play happens, to get him at full speed at the start of the snap. And we have a guy of similar speed in Calvin Austin that you mentioned. He's a short little guy, super fast. I'd like to see us use him like Tyreek Hill, but we're just not. And it's frustrating. And I look at what Miami's doing, it's like, can we please have that, or something close to it?
I think a lot of teams in the NFL look at their team and their offense and go, when they watch Miami, they go, I want that. I want whatever's happening there, I want some of that on my team. Because what Miami does so well, man, is they put, unlike Pittsburgh, actually, is they put their players into position to succeed. They really, they call very unique play calls and use motion to get players in better matchups and manipulate defenses with motions and alignment to make corners line up outside shade or inside shade. And that's the kind of stuff like that, the level of nuance that Matt Canada isn't bringing to the table. And you don't have to have an answer to this. I would not be surprised if you don't, because I don't really have an answer to it either. I think the only guy I can think of is the play caller in Washington, potentially Ryan Grubb. Are there any people that you would want to target as the Steelers' next offensive coordinator?
As a Steelers net, I don't watch a ton of, I know it's not usually college coaches that get promoted to the NFL, or not promoted, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I had to say, oh, okay, let's take that offensive coordinator from another team. I mean, I look at what Detroit's doing. That'd be pretty fun. There's with Ben Johnson, there's Frank Smith over in Miami. Okay, let's get him. Surely he'll bring something better than Matt Canada at the very least.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, those are the 2 names that come to mind. I don't know exactly what it is. All I know is those 2 teams, they do good. I want them,
Yeah.
It's better than Matt Canada, It's frustrating. Like I say, it's not all on Matt Canada, but he's not helping at all.
No, I think he's wildly, I would call him very, I don't know if bland or boring is the right word, but there's not a creativity that, when you watch Miami, again, the way that they use alignment, the way that they're using motion. There was a play, my friend Dan Casey, Coach Dan Casey posted this the other day, it's basically like a old offense from the 60s, and they're doing it out of shotgun with Miami. And it's like, that should never work in the NFL, but they're doing this old stuff, and it's like a throwback to old generations of football with the motions they're using and the way they're moving players behind the line of scrimmage. That's a creativity Miami has that Pittsburgh simply doesn't. I'm curious, man, you really, really love Pittsburgh. Like, what I know, you live in Southern California, but you go to Pittsburgh regularly. Where did the love of Pittsburgh come from? Like, how did that develop for you, where you just love this city, like, across the country in Pennsylvania? How did that happen for you?
So my grandpa actually grew up on a farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which is about 3 hours from Pittsburgh. Then he enlisted in the military, met my grandma while he was deployed on Guam. They moved down here to California, had my dad. And my grandpa, the Steelers were good when my grandpa was, I guess, my age, maybe. I don't remember. But my grandpa would be like, oh, yeah, Steelers, they're good. I watch them here and there. Then my dad started getting really into it. And when I was born, there's a little dive bar down here in Los Alamitos, close to where I live, called the Starting Gate. Been a diehard Steeler bar. Like, they don't even let you bring any other team's gear inside. I've been going there since I was in a baby carrier, apparently. And so I grew up there pretty much. Have breakfast there, good memories. Play Madden in the back when I didn't give a shit about football when I was younger. But as I got older, I think it was around when I was maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, I started paying attention to the games. And this is when the Steelers, the Killer Bees, were in their prime, Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. That was a treat to watch, and it's definitely like why I'm way more of an offensive mind than a defensive mind. And then, as I got older, I was 18, I was like, okay, I want to get to Pittsburgh. That's how I fell in love with Pittsburgh, but I had never been there till I was maybe 18 years old. I wanted to get there I had never watched Big Ben play in person. I'd been to Steeler games down here. I got to watch. My first Steeler game was in versus the Chargers in San Diego at that old stadium, but it was Mike Vick who was playing. I had never gotten to see Big Ben. So a couple years later, in 2019, Steelers came back down here again in Carson, California, when the new stadium was still being built, and Ben was hurt again. So I had the pleasure of watching Duck Hodges play football and win, which was fun. But I had never seen Ben. So I wanted to make it a point to, 2021, this is probably Ben's last year. I want to get to Pittsburgh, watch a Ben Roethlisberger football game down at Heinz Field at the time. So I flew out there, I explored the city. I didn't have a car, so everything was by foot. And you could pretty much do, all there is to do in Pittsburgh, you can get there by foot if you really want. And that was a pleasure it's such a beautiful view, dude. And then, the game was fun. We won. Just exploring, trying all the local foods down there. So on one side of I think the south side of the Three Rivers, there's a mountain called Mount Washington where you take one of them. You've seen them red trolleys up the mountain. And there's a picture spot up there where you just get a beautiful view of the skyline. And it's like, damn, that is beautiful. I like it here. And yeah, I've been there about 4 times now. It's such a beautiful city, and the people are so nice. East Coast people just seem to be nicer on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But,
It's funny. Like, I was going to ask you, I don't know if you would consider, I don't know where Pittsburgh would be considered to be. It's like right on the border of the East Coast and the Midwest. Because like Ohio to me is Midwest, Pennsylvania is East Coast, like Philadelphia is definitely East Coast, but Pittsburgh's right on that border, really close to Ohio. So you're like, is it East? It's kind of in its own territory.
Yeah.
But I would consider, I've been to Ohio, I've never been to Pittsburgh, but what I know about the border, right, really close to Pennsylvania, on Ohio, that area, is that it feels like the Midwest, where people are really nice and there's this attitude, but there's also a blue collar vibe that I really vibe with. I love, like, Cincinnati is one of my favorite cities in the world, and the people there is more of a blue collar vibe. It's more gruff, but they're more honest and also somehow more friendly. I just really love the culture out there. Like, I really felt like I fit in way better in Cincinnati than I ever did in LA or Seattle or Portland. And I think we've got common ground there, where we went to these cities far away in that whatever area of the world you call it, and we're like, yo, the people here are great, and the food is awesome, and it's also way cheaper. Like, what are we doing, man? It's an awesome space out there.
Yeah, and like I'll say this too. Like when I'm out there, look, I live in the LA area. Like I don't live too. Like I'm about an hour from LA. Football down here is not the same as football out there. People don't give a shit about football down here. You know, like other than 49er fan, but that's 6 hours up north. Yeah, like nobody. You're not gonna see freaking, I guess, Rams fans walking around like it's a casual Tuesday in their Rams gear. But over in Pittsburgh, it's like, okay, the city lives and dies by how good the football team is. I took my girlfriend at the time to the Steelers-Patriots home opener last year. They lost. Mitch Trubisky was depressing to watch. We go to the Strip the next day, absolutely dead. It was a depressed city. Like I was asking some of the shop owners there, hey, is it usually this dead on Tuesday? They're like, no, it's never been this dead. And it's like, okay, yeah, this football team, I think people give a shit down here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, man. I was getting the show prepared, and I'm like, oh, the Steelers play in LA this weekend. I'm like, oh, not only is it going to be like, I would almost say it's going to be a home game for Pittsburgh. Like the amount of people, the Steelers travel really well anyway, but anytime they play somewhere like Vegas or LA, or I would even say some places in Florida, like somewhere with warm weather that's easy to travel to, it's going to be a lot of Steelers fans. And I was like, wait a minute, Devin's in that area. Is he going to the game? And you are, right? You're going to the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going on Sunday. I'm excited. So I've been to, this is going to be my third Steeler game here. The first two were against the Chargers. One was in San Diego. That was like 70, 80% Steeler fans. Second one again. No, I'm sorry. This is going to be my fourth game. It's usually dominated by Steeler fans. I will say this, though. I went to the Steelers-Chargers game in 2021. It was the first Steeler game at SoFi Stadium. There was a lot more Chargers fans there than I expected. It was also year 2 of Justin Herbert. He was really fun to watch. So I'm sure there's some aspect there. But if anyone's going to dominate a Rams game, it's going to be Steeler fans. It's going to be really fun. I expect there to be Fire Matt Canada chants. If no one's going to get it going, I will. Yeah, you can. I would say you can expect to hear that, because expect to hear the Steeler fans booing the offense. It's going to be really fun to watch.
What's that stadium like? I haven't been there yet. Tell me about SoFi. It looks like just a palace of the gods for football. It's like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful, incredible building I've ever seen. So,
Zach, when people say Palace of the Gods, I'm like, I was going in there. I heard those. Oh, it's a palace. It's a football palace. So I'm going there for my first Steeler game there. I'm expecting, or I guess my first game there in general. I'm excited. Oh, it's going to be this beautiful palace. And it's close to that, you know. I will say it really lacks color. You know, when you're there, it looks way more beautiful on pictures. It looks way more reflective. But when you're there, it's like, the colors are kind of dull here. You know, you wish it was a little more like polished silver, maybe like a chrome kind of color, but it's really not. The inside's really nice. When you're walking the concourse in there, it's really beautiful. The bars there are nice. The seating's nice. The little, I guess, what do they call it? The infinity screen. It's not a jumbotron, whatever you call it. That thing is nice.
Yeah, that weird like looping, arcing thing, whatever you call it.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, I'd prefer a jumbotron. It's easier to look at. The thing I will say, the seats are kind of packed together. That's not too sexy, but you know, you're watching football. You don't really care. I don't want to call it overrated. It's a little overrated. I like it though. Really? It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. How does it compare to like? Is it still? No, it's what's it called now? Not Heinz Field. Is it Acrisure Field? What's the name of the stadium in Pitt?
Acrisure
Is that
Stadium.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't believe that. I can't believe I got that right. So what? How does it compare to like Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh?
I think with Acrisure,
you're like, be careful. Don't get me in trouble, Zach. I can't say anything bad about the Steelers Stadium.
No, like I'll be honest. Like it's not some mystical, some magical, you know, feat of engineering or technology. It's just an open stadium. You know, it looks nice. Yeah. I think it's really helped by how well incorporated it is into the city. You know, it's just right there. You cross one bridge. You got the North Shore right there. You got the stadium. You just walk up to it. You got little statues out there. But when you're sitting in there, it's like big yellow seats. You know, you look to the right. Oh, there's the mountain I was talking about earlier. It's really nice. In terms of engineering, SoFi is like miles above it. I think the skyline and the city really make the Steelers Stadium look nicer.
Yeah.
Like if you stuck it, I don't know. I like I said, I'm a Steeler fan. I'm good.
Well, I would imagine. So, like, SoFi, I think it's just in the middle of the suburbs, right? It's kind of out there. It's brown in Southern California. My favorite stadium I've ever been to. I've been to Cowboy Stadium. I've been to Seattle. I've been to Denver. I've been to, I'm trying to think, the Giants Stadium in New York. And Cincinnati is the one. I've been to the Viking Stadium. The one that really stands out to me was Cincinnati because it was downtown. It was on the river. It felt like it was in the center of everything. And Pittsburgh just feels like an older brother, better version of whatever Cincinnati's got going on, where you got the rivers converging, you got the hills in the distance, you're also downtown, you're right in the middle of everything. It's beautiful. I get really good vibes from Pittsburgh. It's so funny to me, like, people talk about moving to California, moving to I would never ever live in California. You could not pay me enough money to get me there. But like a place like Pittsburgh is so underrated, and like it's pretty in the summer, it's beautiful in the winter. You got the river, you got the hills. Have you ever been to a game in cold weather in Pittsburgh, like in snow or rain? I feel like that's got to be the atmosphere of Pittsburgh. Like, just has to be really cool, I would think.
I can't say I've been to a snow game. I would have really liked to go to a snow game.
Yeah. Is that a bucket list thing for you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I've never been, like, especially with the open stadium, that's just an atmosphere I want to be a part of. The coldest game I've been to, I think it was like maybe 40 degrees. Steelers-Ravens 2021. But no, I want to go to one of those snow games. That atmosphere would be just immaculate.
Oh, yeah, man, that's awesome. Tell me about, I've never heard, other than like watching videos, Pittsburghese. Can you tell me about the accent?
Man, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like, down is down,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going downstairs.
Don.
Yeah. God, I don't know how to describe it. Like, oh, I'm going to go.
I feel like it's awesome, though, right? I feel like that would be really fun to be around.
Oh, no, it is fun. Like, being from California, everyone talks like this and everything. But you go down there. I went to a tailgate, and I never really heard the Pittsburgh accent until I was hanging out with my buddy Jamar down there, who watches my show. I didn't bump into him. We were going to hang out at one of the tailgates, and I started hearing the accent. I was like, oh, that's what it sounds like. God, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, oh, I'm going to go wash my clothes, stuff like that. Oh, God, what is there?
Or like league is league, like... And National Football League, like you're like, what? What'd you say? Like, and not making fun. I think people forget how big, like people that a lot of listeners live in like Europe, and they don't realize America's not like one country. We're basically like 50 little countries all combined. I mean, you go to Pittsburgh, you go to Boston, you go to New York. It's a completely different. Everything's different compared to the West Coast, compared to California or Washington. Like, people have no idea how different all the pockets of our country are, and Pittsburgh's one of those unique spots that has its unique sound and its unique feel, and I think that's the kind of stuff that like is so amazing and special about our country. It's like that's the kind of thing you got to preserve, is that ability to have the crazy cool culture that Pittsburgh has. You're like, oh man, that's truly special. I want to go there someday. Like, if I can ever facilitate a trip where we go together and eat Pittsburgh food and go to a game like that, that's the kind of stuff I want to do that would be really, really fun for me. I'm like, oh, that would be incredible.
Oh, dude, you would love Pittsburgh. If you like Cincinnati, look, I can't say I've been to Cincinnati, but from how you describe Cincinnati, I think you would love Pittsburgh.
I think, despite they would probably argue because they hate each other, but I bet they've got a lot of similarities. Like, I bet. Have you ever had the Pittsburgher, or no, the Roethlisberger? Is that what it's called? Like,
I've actually had both of those. The Pittsburgher is a thing.
There is one.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So the Roethlisberger, that's a sandwich down in there's different spots, but the main one on the Strip in downtown, there's a place called Pepe's, where it's funny. I didn't even have plans to go there. I just had to find a restroom, and
write this down.
Yeah, there's a place there called Pepe's, Peppis. I was just exploring downtown trying to find a restroom, and I went in there. I was like, hey, can I use your restroom? They're like, you going to buy food? I said, shit, now I am. So I used the restroom, came back, ordered the Roethlisberger. It was pretty good. I forget exactly what is in it. God, it's been so long. I don't remember. It was really good, though. And then the Roethlisberger, that's one you can find. I'm sorry, the Pittsburgher, that's one you can find at Permane Brothers. That's more of a chain of restaurants. That's the first food I had when I was in Pittsburgh. That's like 2 slabs of, I don't know what kind of meat. Like, it's the kind of meat you would find in a TV dinner. Smothered with like coleslaw, tomatoes, fries. That's a thing.
They have one in the stadium, a Permane Brothers, right? Have you had that in the stadium ever?
I actually haven't had food in the stadium. Like when I'm there, I'm so locked into, okay, it's game day. I forget to get food.
Yeah.
But
are you like me where I'm a nerd? I like have my dumb little notebook, and I'm like, I went to a game, like when I would go to XFL games, I'm like watching it. I mean, I was in the press box, it's a little different, but I was like, even when I went to the Bengals Patriots game I went to, like I had my dumb little notebook, and I'm like writing little notes down and like so I can remember stuff. And I'm like, I'm totally not the loud guy who's like, like, are you in the moment or are you like taking notes? Like, how do you remember stuff about the experience so you can talk about it later when you go to a game?
oh, I'm the loud guy. I'm like the complete opposite of you in that sense. Like the year I tried taking notes during a game, it kind of pulled out my enjoyment of the game. So I stopped doing that. I started trying to enjoy the game as a fan more. And then usually I just sit down, talk about what I can remember. Like usually, look, it's not about the views, right? It's not about the views, but they're nice. So usually after a game, I'll try to get out a video about the game as fast as I can, talking about the game. It's all from memory, frankly. Like the most important and most significant moments of the game that I can remember. In terms of like getting into detail about the game, I'll have usually gone back and watched the game again. But yeah, the notes thing, I couldn't do it. It was pulling my enjoyment from the game instead of being a fan.
Can you talk to me about making content? Because I got offered a job today, actually, outside of making content that made me kind of pause and go, like, that's a lot of money. It would allow me to do a lot of stuff I want to do. Like, I could for example, like pay for us to both go to Pittsburgh and like we could all watch football together. And it would create an opportunity for me to make more videos, less frequently, but more videos that I want to make rather than doing very formulaic stuff. Can you talk about being a content creator? Because for me, I love making content, but I also, when it's your job, it's so different for me. Like I'm really curious what your, I don't think it's your full-time job yet. What's it like for you as a content creator, and what's your mindset? And can you tell me about your journey as a creator in general?
Yeah, man. So originally, honestly, this is a kind of a part where I want to give you your flowers. I never started making content until I started watching your stuff. So I started watching, okay, how does Zach do it? I was like, okay, let me try to emulate some things there. So I started out as like trying to do a full, hour-long show every so often. Wasn't working. I'm not as good talking for an hour as I am for, 10, 15 minutes. So I kind of deviated towards, just sit down, one-shot discussion videos talking about whatever topic I feel like talking about or whatever I think is interesting. Then as time went on, I was like, okay, how can I make these videos better? And that's when I started trying to produce the videos more in terms of like cutting out dead air, stuff like that. The problem with that is it started kind of, it was so tedious, like editing. I'm sure, it's one of the most like it has to get done to get to what you want, uploading.
Yeah, dude, you either love it or you don't, man. Editing is it's a whole different, it's a whole thing. It's so different from the rest of it, right? From writing, recording, being the personality. Like, I got to edit all this crap too. Like,
yeah, it's like, so I started trying to produce the videos more, getting the dead air out, and it's like, okay, the views are the same. It's kind of taken away my enjoyment from doing the thing, how much time I'm spending editing. So I kind of bounced back to the one-shot videos. Then I'm going to school full-time now too, so trying to juggle that and content creation consistently. Like if you're gonna do the one-shot videos, you got to do it consistently. I think that's how. I don't know if you know Engraven Vids. He's a Ravens guy. Basically, the Ravens Quincy Carrier. You got to do it consistently for sure if you're going to do the one-shot stuff. Trying to juggle that with school has become a pain, and as the 2022 season kind of came nearing an end, I kind of started not being as, I guess, committed to the show, if that makes sense, in terms of, like, it's another obligation that, okay, am I going to do this homework assignment, or should I make this show and eliminate 3 hours of sleep? So as the 2022 season went on, I slowly started making less and less videos. Why? I don't know. I think it just became stressful trying to juggle so many different obligations. And also I was like, man, the views aren't here. And like I said, I'm not doing it for the views, but they're nice.
Yeah.
So towards the end of 2022, I totally shifted the kinds of videos I make. Whereas I'm talking less about football and more so telling these player life stories. I did one on Kenny Pickett, right? Heavily produced. I think it was like almost 40 minutes long. Heavily produced. heavily researched, telling all kinds of stories, basically, you know, from when he was a kid, when he went to high school, college, Pittsburgh. And the video did really, really well. So it's like, okay, shit, if I can do something really good like this, let me try to commit to this. So I did a George Pickens one. I did a Najee Harris one. I did a TJ Watt one. I did a Juju Smith-Schuster one. And you think, oh, it sounds like I'm doing it pretty consistently. It's so fucking tedious to edit that I just stopped making videos for stretches of time. The George Pickens one did really well. Good.
Can I ask, is it more fulfilling when you're doing a really thoughtful, really, really in-depth video like once a month or something? Is that more fulfilling than pumping out like 5 things a week, like really like going a ton? I've always wondered about that. Like, for example, I don't know how I would do in-season content, but I've always imagined like I could definitely do a film analysis video every 2 weeks in the off season, and maybe just do like treat it like a TV show where it's like I get a season from like March or February to August, and that's the season, the film analysis season, and then that's the show, and maybe that's everything I do. I've always kind of fantasized this idea of what it'd be like to do less frequent content and just make something that's very thoughtful and really deep dive into one subject. Like you see a lot of YouTubers that are, I'm weird because I'm a podcast and a YouTube channel, so it's very but you see a lot of people that do like video game videos, for example. They'll do like a review once a month, and they break down this one thing, and then they walk away for another month, and then they're back, and like they're in and out and in and out. Do you find that process more fulfilling or less fulfilling to do more in-depth stuff like that?
Yeah, so actually, like I kind of got to that point where it was the editing of those things that just made me fall out of love with doing YouTube. But once I did I think my most recent one was TJ Watt, I think, life story video. I'm sitting here and I'm like working on a Cam Hayward one, and I'm like, man, I am not having fun, and I had to do some self-reflection, thinking like, okay, if I go back to these one-shot style videos, the views won't be as nice. But at the same time, I'm thinking, man, I'm not having fun doing the life stories, stuff like that. So I had shifted away from talking about these player life stories to actually talking about football, which is what I'm doing now, more so than before. Like, I started doing it because I like talking about football, and I came to a point where I realized, okay, I'm telling these stories, I'm not talking about football really. And I'm sure those documentary style videos, I'm sure they're for someone, but I came to the conclusion, yeah, it's probably not for me. Maybe if I had more time, maybe if this was my full-time job and I had more time to do it, I'd like to. Like, I don't want to fully shift away from it. Like, people really liked those videos. I'd like to make more for them. It's just, right now with how many obligations I'm juggling, like school, I play softball Tuesdays and Thursday nights, doing the show. I mean, this is going to sound like objectifying, but I have a girlfriend, that's a time obligation. Love her. It is a time obligation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was so much to juggle that it's like, yeah, not right now. Maybe if I had more free time, but not right now.
It's always the balancing act as a creator, right? Like, how much time do I have? How much money do I have? Can I get away with taking 3 weeks on a project? No, I can't. So you're like, in a perfect world, we all make $100,000 a year, and we can all just make exactly what we want and never be pigeonholed into one thing. And I've struggled a lot in my career. It's like, everyone knows what they want from me. They want film analysis, and they don't realize film analysis takes like 60 hours a week. If I did only film analysis, I probably wouldn't survive as a content creator because I wouldn't make enough content to like literally make money and live. So it's like it's this endless struggle of like trying to do what you want to do, but also doing what you have to do to pay your bills, and like this constant juggling act that I still have never been able to figure out the proper balance of. So I totally understand everything you just said. Like, anyone who, I think people have this really idealized view of content creation, but when you add the financial realities to all of it, it endlessly complicates everything. And you're like, man, you're trying to get views because you need to pay your bills, and you want to make what you want, but you also need to make what the audience wants because that's what literally how you survive. It's all this complicated stuff that like I think people that sit on the sidelines and watch don't even ever think about. And so I don't know, man. I want to pull up something. I'm gonna probably screenshot it, put it on the show. you did like a hair reveal recently, man. Like you got this awesome haircut, and I can't like on a human level, I can't talk to you face to face and not talk about this awesome haircut you just got. And then on top of that, these like really dramatic, like I don't even know what to call it, like model style posed pictures, which I love. It's great. Tell me about this haircut, man. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah. So for like I forget how long I've done it. But I used to do, so I just got a haircut today, actually. What I used to do was just a fade on the sides and get a 6 up top. Really simple.
Yeah.
But when I had broken up with my girlfriend at the time, I was sitting there, overweight, I had a stupid mustache going on, and I had that stupid haircut, right? So my best friend was like, hey, let's switch up your style a little bit. Ditch the mustache. Keep doing the fade on the side, but let the top of your hair grow out. Do something with it. Make your fat ass face look. That sounds mean. Make your face look a little longer so it looks more slim.
Sure. Yeah.
So I kind of stuck to that for I forget how long, maybe like 9 months, and then my girlfriend told me, hey, try a mid part. And I have really stubborn hair, so a mid part's really tough to do unless I have like I
do you need product? Because mine won't stay that way unless I use product. Like by the way, I'm learning about this stuff. Mousse. It's very interesting.
That's what I use. That's what I use.
Fun world.
Yeah, so I discovered mousse, and I was like, okay, it keeps my hair dense. It lets me do the mid part. It's dry right now, so it's not gonna stay mid. There's no mid part going on right now, but yeah, mousse. Spread the hair apart. But yeah, so one thing my girlfriend pointed out to me, I'm looking at my Instagram right now. It's me wearing nothing but hats. Hats. If you look at my page, it's all hats. She's like, hey, you don't have a picture with your hair. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't have a picture with my hair. So we'd gone to a pumpkin patch and we went in one of the little corn mazes. And she was like, hey, you look good. Let me take a picture. And she was like, look, I don't know how to do poses, right? I am not photogenic at all. Like, I don't know how to do any good looking. She was like, just look down. Put your hands in your pocket. Look down. Hey, look up and to the left.
The girlfriend's looking out for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then it's fun. Like, I posted that on my story. I was like, oh, yeah, this is my hair, by the way. And then I go to work, and people are like, oh, they were making fun of me. Like, one girl, she came up to me, she was smirking. And I was like, what's so funny? She was like, new hair reveal. And I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah,
dude,
no.
I get like Morgan Wallen. Like I could imagine this is how Kenny Pickett dresses, like in his off time. Like I like it, man. It's a good style.
I appreciate it. I try.
Where do you work? Just you don't have to answer if it's like a thing you don't want to put on blast. But what do you do? Where do you work?
I work at Target right now. Ooh, nothing special. I enjoy it. The people are cool. Yeah. But obviously, it's no career. Obviously.
No, man. But you're in college. You're doing what you got to do. I really hate how judgmental people are about jobs. Like people are they're fucking assholes, man. It's like we all are doing what we got to do to survive. Everyone's like struggling. What are you studying? What's your degree going to be?
So I started college as an accounting major for a semester. Fucking hated
That's brave.
it.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because so I didn't know what I wanted to do going into college,
Sure.
which was probably a mistake. But my dad was like, be an accounting major if you don't know what to do and make a lot of money. So I was like, okay, Dad, I'll be an accounting major. I did it for a semester, hated it, and then I was thinking, okay, I want to change my major. What do I change it to? So I started looking at kinesiology. That's more like what I'm into. Like I love the outdoors. I love the movement side of life. So I got into kinesiology thinking, okay, I'm going to be a chiropractor. So I started as a general studies kinesiology major thinking, okay, once I'm done with college, I'm going to be a chiropractor or at least go into chiropractic school. The closer I got to graduating, I'm looking at chiropractic school. I'm like, okay, do I want to be in $120,000 of student loan debt? So that kind of scared me out of it. And I changed my concentration to more of the coaching aspect of things. PE coaching, for example, which on the side, you're at high school. I could be a football coach. I'd have to learn how for sure. Like, I'd be no Mike
Can
McDaniel.
I say?
Go ahead.
Well, if you want to work in football as a coach, there are so many pathways. Like you would probably start like somewhere small, like middle school or freshman football. But they're like that's a huge need actually in high school football is like people to coach JV football, freshman football, and the qualifications are like really low. They're like, do you have a pulse? Are you not going to abuse the kids? Do you know anything about football? Like, great, you got the job. Like people, there's a huge need there, and then that's where you start and work your way up. Like if you want to work in football and be a coach. Absolutely, you got the the brains, the aptitude, and the football knowledge to start somewhere low and work your way up. Like I want you to know, if I tell everyone that, like, if you want to be a coach, there's so many options available to you. You just got to find someone willing to give you a shot to start somewhere. And knowing you, like your work ethic, your attitude, someone's going to see you, look at what you can do and help you out and get you. Eventually, you would totally work your way up and become a high school football coach if you wanted to. No problem. Like that, if you want to do that, that option's out there for you for sure.
Yeah, like the approach I'm taking to it is like, so obviously the goal, do YouTube full time, be a content creator. That's the goal. Yeah. But on the side, not on the side. I guess I wouldn't call college my safety net, but it's like, okay, if I'm not doing YouTube yet, then like I would love to be coaching kids, whether it's football, whether it's PE, like I'd love to work with high schoolers. Once again, whether it's football or PE, like coaching them, I want to be that coach that PE teacher that everyone likes, that everyone remembers 10 years later. I think I'm a motivating guy. I think I'm a guy that can have patience for kids if, like, let's say they're having a bad day, I'm not going to scold them if they're not doing something right in class or something. I want to be the guy that, like, they can come to, that can try to understand their problems. That's why I think I'd make a good coach. I don't know how great of a coach I'd be in terms of, like, the offensive side of the football. Like, I don't know if I could ever be a Mike McDaniel, a Kyle Shanahan, but whether it's PE, whether it's football, I think I could be, if not a good coach, a good guy to fill
good
the
influence.
Coaching role. Yeah, exactly.
Can I encourage you, man? As a guy who, I'm a content creator and I don't have a degree, get your damn degree. Like, it'll just give you so much peace of mind because like, you always have that to fall back on. And like for me, if I want to work outside of content creation, all my options are like, do I want to sell HVAC or roofing, or like, do I want to sell what I could be a salesman? That's pretty low barrier to entry. Real estate, which I'd never want to do. Like the trades, like my options are so much more limited because I don't have a degree. And like, there is a financial reality just to being an adult in America. Like, get a job where you can pay your bills, and then build your once you have income from your YouTube channel to replace what you already do, then make that your full-time job. But I just think a lot of people, myself included, I jumped so quick to doing content creation full-time, and I didn't give myself any other options financially or career-wise. And I don't think I think it might have been a mistake, honestly. Like, I really think that the more options you can have, the more peace of mind you'll have, the better set up you are for your life. And I just can't encourage you enough to get your degree. Like, just please, for me, like, take care of yourself, because that really does matter, and it makes your life much easier later in life. I know you're already headed towards that, but like, even if you were killing it on YouTube and you had like a year left in your degree, which is what I had, I would encourage you to just finish. You're so close, finish, then go full time on YouTube, because I think a lot of people, I just think that the more options you have in life, the better set up you are, and it just will make your life easier and better all around.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm definitely gonna get my degree. It's crazy. Like, I was supposed to graduate. Was it this past spring? I think I was supposed to graduate this past spring, but that's where I was kind of questioning the chiropractic field. And I was looking at coaching, and I was like, okay, this is going to add 2 years of school, but I'll have more of a sense of direction. So yeah, definitely going to get my degree. I'd encourage others to get their degree, and I'd encourage others, don't think a degree is going to get you the job, right? Like, it gets you the interview. The interview, like, yeah, I can win an interview. I need that degree.
Yeah, I think I've got so many comments, if I may, about college. Like, I would be really careful going into debt. Like, be smart about how you apply for college and get into college. Like, a lot of people, I went to community college briefly. If I could go back, I would have finished community college, got my AA, then gone to a 4-year university just to save money. There's no shame in that path. It just makes it cheaper for you. Be smart when you're getting student loans. Like, just be thoughtful about what you're doing. And I think at 18, everyone's like, get a student loan, go crazy. And I'm like, I don't think I should have gone to college at 18. I wasn't really ready. I wasn't mature enough for that. I was playing football, so I had to go. You can't just sit out of football for 2 years and then go. But like, I don't know that I had it all thought out properly, and I didn't entirely know what I was getting myself into. And then know that, like, because you have a piece of paper doesn't mean you're going to get a job, like you said. You got to be a well-rounded person who's got people skills and who's driven, who can do well in an interview. And then when you get the job, you still got to have to, like, do things in college that allow you to grow as a person and have perspective, so that when you get an opportunity to get a job, you're ready to go and can take advantage of that opportunity. That's why doing stuff like sports is so huge, because the lessons you can learn as an athlete. Like, I I feel like I'm a quarterback in everything I do, right? The lessons I learned in preparation, the lessons I learned in talking to people, the lessons I learned in, studying, they all really help me as an adult in regular everyday life. I don't mean to get philosophical here. I just, it's this is the stuff I love talking about.
Oh yeah, I love it. No, yeah. Like, dude, I was no D1 athlete. I would barely be a D3 athlete back in high school. Yeah, like I said, I played football in high school. Like freshman year, hated it, quit, rejoined my junior year or after my junior year, going into senior year, quit again. I hated it. I just wish back then I had a better attitude about it. I wish I had a better work ethic about it. I think I could have been a better player back then. Like freshman year, I had a low self-esteem, didn't like my body image, didn't know what to play. So I was like, okay, I'm short, fat, let me play lineman, And when I really should have been playing like linebacker or something, running back. So going into my senior year, I wanted to be a quarterback, right? Like I felt more confident about, my decision making, my I guess place as a leader. Felt more less of a low self-esteem about my body. Like, okay, hang on, I'm in high school. Who gives a shit about your frame? I think I could play quarterback. The coach quickly picked the big and tall guy. At the same time, I was no athlete at all. So I played running back. I just wish I had a better attitude about things. That's stuff that I try to apply nowadays. It's like, back then I hated it, made excuses for myself. When I look in the past and I'm like, I did not have a good work ethic at all. Like, I was never excited for football practice, stuff like that. And I try to apply that to my life nowadays.
Your story gives me empathy for my center in high school. His name was Mike. I don't want to say his last name. I don't want people to look him up if he doesn't want that. But Mike was a warrior, man. Mike, his dream was to play middle linebacker, and Mike, we just needed him at center, man. And I never really thought about his position in life until now. Like, I always got to play the position I wanted. I was a quarterback. But Mike wanted to be a linebacker. He had, he hit so hard. He was aggressive. Like, he was a warrior spirit who had to play center because we needed him at center. Like, he was the best center we had. And, for him, I never thought about his sacrifice his senior year to say, like, oh, okay, I'll do the dirty work of playing center, doing what the team needs, rather than what I want, which is to play middle linebacker. And I've never, ever thought about that until this moment. And I Mike, if you're out there, I respect that so much because we made the playoffs, had a great year because of him at center. And he certainly wasn't doing what he wanted all year. And that's a sacrifice, man. It's funny how privileged you are at quarterback. You never even think about all the other positions and the way they're, like we saw, was it Andrew Luck got to the NFL and was like, oh, this is dangerous for your body. It's like only a quarterback can get to that point at the NFL where they finally realize, like, yeah, football isn't healthy, I'd love to talk. I have a couple more things I'd love to talk about. We've gone on these long tangents, but I want to talk about something that happened to Max Crosby where he wore a triangle face mask against the Patriots, where it was an homage to, it's the symbol for sobriety. And the NFL told him to take it off, change his face mask. He's kind of fighting them, trying to get something figured out. This is the stuff I really hate in the NFL, that they don't allow more personality. We saw the F Dallas shirt George Kittle wore. We see players, you make a big play, you stand over a receiver, that gets the taunting penalty. You can't take your helmet off, although we saw in the Minnesota Chiefs game the other day, someone did take their helmet off, didn't get penalized, which I don't know what that's about. The no fun league strikes again. Why is... Do you have a similar, I guess, frustration with the NFL, which is me, like, you and I watch football because it's entertainment. We love it. I would imagine, for me, it's my favorite thing. I'd imagine it's your favorite thing or pretty close. Like, why doesn't the NFL allow to have a little more fun? Why can't we trash talk? Why can't we wear a specialized face mask that's a symbol and an ode to sobriety? Why can't we do little things that add to personality? Why is the NFL so stringent on that? Do you have a similar frustration that I do with the NFL in this aspect?
Yeah, man, it's frustrating. Like, dude, TJ Watt made like a game-winning sack or something the other day. I forget exactly what it was. It was a really impactful sack. End of the game, took his helmet off, and he got fined like $15,000 for it, right? It's like, it didn't matter, in the grand scheme of things to the game.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about the Max Crosby face mask, and I'm not defending the NFL here. I'm just sharing what I saw. I guess Justin Herbert, when he had that finger injury the other day, his helmet got stuck in a face mask. I don't know if that was Max Crosby's or something, but That's what Chargers fans have been saying. Oh, the face mask nearly ripped off Herbert's finger. I could try to understand the NFL banning the face mask for safety concerns, but also it's the fucking NFL, you know? Like, you're getting hit every day, head slamming into each other. Is the face mask that much of a safety concern? I don't know. But yeah, that does suck. That he had, like, yeah, I don't know. The face mask one was weird.
Well, the face mask, I like that you brought that up, because if you look at the face mask Max Crosby's wearing, it's got these, like, two bars that are really close to each other. And I can imagine you getting a finger in between those bars and having trouble there. But can you not adjust the face mask in a way that there aren't two parallel bars really close to each other? Like, I feel like there's got to be a way the NFL can make him have the personality he wants and also allow him to be safe with a face mask. Like, I just wish the NFL was more negotiable, I guess, that you could talk about this stuff. And I understand, like, hey, you don't want the F Dallas shirt because you don't want profanity.
Right.
But talking trash, standing over a player after a big hit, taking your helmet off, how does that matter? In fact, if anything, if you take your helmet off after a big play, it helps the player get more recognition. Like, you know, I don't know why that's not allowed. Like, I would think you want your players to get as much recognition as possible. This is the kind of stuff that I just don't understand where the NFL's coming from here, and it's kind of weird to me. Sounds like we're in agreement there.
Yeah. Yeah, like, the only thing I could add to that is, like, I mean, we are in a more corporate America, you know. Back then, the NFL was so much more fun, you know. Jack Lambert picking up, turning a quarterback upside down, throwing him on the ground, you know. I mean, I think of Terrell Owens slamming the football down on the Dallas Star, or standing on, I forget exactly what it was. I wasn't even born yet. The only thing I could, I guess, defend the NFL, like, the F Dallas shirt, that's one, you know, like, maybe that influences it, or maybe that harms TV deals, stuff like, I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe you're trying to make it a more professional looking business. Yeah, I wish it was more fun. You know, I mean, I'll never forget Antonio Brown running back a punt return, kicking the punter in the face.
Like That's an amazing play, dude. There's a clip. It's from before my time and before your time. It's Brian Brom in the XFL. Like, he got hurt the week before, got hit really in a nasty way. And before the game, like, Brian Brom, like, how are you playing this game? He's like, 2 questions. Is this or is this not the XFL? And do I or do I not have a pulse? And he's like, let's go! And he runs off. Like, I didn't watch the XFL in its original form, you know, with I guess Vince McMahon, the original XFL from years and years, like 20 years ago. But it had that vibe. Like, this is fun. This is entertainment. We know what it is. And the NFL could lean into that, I think, a little more. And I think definitely it couldn't hurt you. You want no swearing? Fine with me. That makes sense. You want Tyreek Hill to wear socks because it adheres to uniform code? I guess, sure. But certain things, like, where's the line, and can we find a little more flexibility in the way we allow players to work? I don't know. That's the kind of stuff to me that's like, have you ever seen that clip of Brian Brom? Like,
no,
going crazy?
I haven't.
If you haven't, you should look it up. Dude, it's all time. You're like, man, this is some really good stuff. I want to end, unless you have more, I'll throw it to you in a moment if you have more. But the thing I'd like to talk about at the end of the show is things like First Take, things like these really, really popular sports shows on TV. I have a theory about them. I don't think very many, if anybody, watches the full show. Like, I just don't. I think people watch the clips on YouTube and the clips that circulate on social media, and it really perpetuates a really unhealthy culture where Stephen A. Smith says something crazy. Like, the other day, he said, Tua, you know, is only throwing the ball 2 yards downfield to Tyreek Hill. Meanwhile, literally in the background is a video of Tua throwing his deep ball to Tyreek Hill for 50 yards. And you're like, I think you're just trolling. I think you're doing an hour-long show so that you can clip out, like, little 60-second clips and say garbage online and go viral and have everyone mad at you. And the more people are mad at you, the more people are going to give feedback and clicks and comments. And it's this perpetuating cycle that we have that's so unhealthy in social media. I guess my question is, do you think anybody watches those shows? Like, they sit down every day and watch the entire episode of First Take? I don't know that anybody does that. I think it's all just social media clips. Do you is that your sense of the social media and the sports world right now?
Yeah, obviously nobody's going to sit down and watch the 3-hour show or however long it is every day. But I'll say this. I don't agree with a lot of the shit they say. Like, it's all inflammatory, loud, boisterous stuff they say. I do enjoy the shows, however. Growing up, maybe because they're on cable, we didn't have, like, we had cable for a little bit when I was a kid, and then my dad was like, oh yeah, just ditch cable. So it was fun to watch, like, staying in hotel rooms where there were cable, waking up in the morning, watching First Take, watching Colin Cowherd. I think there is a market for it. Like, my best friend, like, he loves those shows.
I think it's a bigger market for it. I think most people prefer that, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, but also, obviously, a lot of it they are looking for. Like, you worked for some of those companies before.
Yeah.
Like, you've talked about how some of the people don't even choose what they say or choose the opinion they have. So I wonder how much of that plays a role in it. Like, we saw the same post earlier. I think it was Tyreek Hill saying Stephen A. Smith doesn't watch the games. And Stephen A. clapped back, oh yeah, how dare you criticize me that I don't watch the games. Meanwhile, like you said, he's talking about how Tua only throws checkdowns, like, with the video in the background of him throwing the deep ball frequently. It's like, but you don't watch the games, like, clearly.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I just kind of think the system's broken. I don't know how to fix it, and it discourages me and disappoints me that people don't seem to value, like, nuance and value a full breakdown and value less stuff that's more inflammatory, stuff that's less inflammatory, I guess. And I have a real question for you, like, and please be honest. Is my style too idealistic? Like, is there just not? There might just not be a huge market for people want the yelling and screaming. It seems to me. Do you think my idea is just too idealistic and maybe isn't long term going to work? Like, I've always wondered that about my show. Like, am I too moderate? Am I too much of a fence sitter? Am I too much trying to be straightforward and honest rather than, like, I know it would help me if I was, like, screaming and yelling and I brought a co-host on and we had yelling matches back and forth. I know that would make the show more popular, but I don't want to do that. That feels like a break in my ideals. Like, I would rather have gambling sponsorships than I would do that, which then that would break inherently the entire, like, direction of the show. Do you think my idea is too idealistic, like my approach to sports media?
No, I think long term it works. Like, I think the style you do, you got to build a fan base for, do it consistently. Like, there is a market for the actual nuance, like real takes, not the boisterous shit. I think the longer you do it, the more consistently you do it, the more of a fan base you'll build. And, like, I haven't been doing this long enough to know for sure that's going to happen.
Sure, yeah.
But, for example, Quincy Carrier, right? He just sits down and talks about the Browns in one shot and uploads it, you know? I mean, there is some editing that goes into it. But I love his style and how consistently he does it and how much of a fan base he's built and the fact that he's built a career out of it. I think with your show, too, like, there's always going to be a market for the hour-long podcast, especially if you do it consistently. I would say it's more sustainable than the hot take shit, you know? And there is even, like, I mean, like I said earlier, when I watch a game, I'm not taking notes. I just talk about the game, like, as soon as it happens or right after it happens. And there's a market for that, people who want to see it right away. And in that, you'll find real fans, I believe. Like, some of my videos, it was I've done some dumb videos in the past, right? But even
we all have,
yeah. even the documentaries, like, right, like, people would subscribe from the documentaries, and then once I shifted towards the one shot videos again, people are like, oh shit, this dude's kind of cool. Like, I'm not trying to show off, but there's people like, oh yeah, I fucking love your videos, you know. And I'm like, I put very little effort into it, like that, which sounds bad.
But you're not editing it for 40 hours. Like, it's
exactly.
different than, you can have a high effort video that's all one take, and that's still less work because it's just not as much editing. It's not as much crap that goes into it as far as, like, the after the show. Once the content is made and the writing is done and the thoughtfulness is done and the recording is done, you just put it out because it's all one take. That is inherently easier, even if it's doesn't mean it's low effort content.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I mean to say. Like, I mean, I see the people that are giving me compliments in the comment section. I do my best to not let it get to my head. Like, I try to keep a level head about it. Like, don't react to the negative. Don't react too heavily to the positive. Just when there is positive, I say thank you. You know. But it's like, do I feel? Sometimes I question there's some imposter syndrome. Do I feel worthy of these compliments, stuff like that? Because I just sit down, record, add an intro, add an outro, and upload. But honestly, I forgot where we were going with this.
Well, so we can end here, man, if you want. Like, what is there anything else you want to talk about? I feel like there's a lot out there football wise that we haven't mentioned. If you want to bring up anything, we can. If not, we can cut it and call it. But I love talking to you, man.
No, yeah, I just want to add on to what I would like. In those, maybe the videos that weren't the best, you'll find fans in them. You know, as you keep doing it, you'll find more and more fans build that market for your videos. You know, like, I mean, I see your videos. Maybe you don't think you're doing as well view-wise, but when I watch your videos, I sit here and I see, 2, 3, 4,000 views every video consistently. It's like, I'm sitting here, maybe I'll pop a 1,000 view video, 2,000 view video here and there, but not as consistently. It's like, maybe you don't feel like you're doing as well, but some of us who the smaller content creators, we see that, oh shit, he's doing 4,000 views a video. It's like I think you're further along than you realize, maybe. I think you just keep doing it, especially that style of show. Like, there's always going to be someone like me, for example, tuning into your show every day, you know? And that's a point. That's where I'd like to get to eventually. And I think it's just a time commitment. I think it's sustainable the longer term you do it, if that makes sense.
Definitely. No, it's interesting. Like, I look at people like it's funny. I don't want to complain, and I know I've chosen my lane, right? I really like John Bellion's my favorite musician of all time, and John Bellion writes a lot of music for, like, he wrote Justin Bieber songs. When the Jonas Brothers were on late night shows, like, he was their keyboard guy. Like, he likes being more of a background character. I don't need to be Pat McAfee. I don't think I'd really like that. I don't think I'd like being that big. But then I often wonder, like, why are people like Stephen A. Smith or like another one comes to mind, like Logan Paul? Why are they huge? Why is everyone tuning into these guys who seem like pieces of garbage to me? But then I'm having this like internal struggle. Like, am I just not doing the right thing here? I've always wondered that. I don't know. I don't mean to get like in my feelings, for lack of a better term. It's just interesting to have this conversation with another person who makes content. And I've always had this turmoil in my head, like, you know, like, I'd love to be bigger, but I also don't think I'd want to be Will Smith or Pat McAfee. But also I know that people that I've come up with are doing, I don't know, it's just this interesting dichotomy to me. And I'm trying to just stay true to myself and do the things I want to do and let it work out and just try not to worry about the plan. But I wanted to have this conversation with somebody. It's interesting to me. So I don't know. I didn't mean to like put us into this corner talking about myself. If that makes sense.
No, I think it's good. I think it's good.
Anything else you want to talk about? Anything football wise? Anything we've missed that you're interested in?
Football wise, not really. I just do once again want to kind of give you your flowers. I think, like, I don't know how much of an impact I think you realize you have on people. Me, for example, like I watch damn near all your content, right? Whether it's Strong Opinion Sports, whether it's Zach Schomler talking, Flawed Human, stuff like that. When I talk to people, dude, I used to be an asshole in 2019, right? Which is around the time I started watching your content. And specifically, like, I know the sports is your thing, but your videos, your content on, you know, the more life stuff, I think really shifted my perspective on the world. Like I said, I used to be an asshole, not much patience for people's flaws back then. But as I would watch, like, Flawed Human, Zach Schomler talk, I mean, Zach Schomler was a more recent one, but Flawed Human specifically, like with your dad, really helped me change and improve my viewpoint of the world, I guess. So I just want to thank you for that, give you your flowers. That's all I really have.
Promote yourself. Tell people what you do. Tell people about your channel.
Yeah, so I do the Here We Go show, talk about Steelers videos. I try to do it every day. In kind of a slump right now. It's a bye week. Really, life's been busy, but yeah, you can find it, the Here We Go show on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter, X, Devin Jacob Engel. I'm always on there. Yeah, you can, easy to reach out to me. It's fun.
Dude, I love your show name, the Here We Go show. Because can you explain where that comes from? Because that's a thing Pittsburgh says, correct?
Yeah, so the Steelers fight chant, I guess, is Here We Go, Steelers, Here We Go. And when I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I name this Steelers show I want to do? And I don't remember other ideas I had, but I was like, okay, Here We Go show kind of rhymes, you know? So I'm like, okay, is this taken? And I'm actually not the first person with the Here We Go show. So I looked up, you know, when I think of a name, I look up, okay, does anyone else have this name? Does anyone else have a website for this name? Someone else did the Here We Go show a long time ago, but it died in 2018, and they did like 3 episodes. So I was like, I'm gonna take this, and here we are.
You're the one doing it.
Yeah,
man. I just think it's a cool name. I really like it. I've always thought it was. I was like, oh, that's a great, well done, man. Because I did know like the chant, and I'm like, when you know the backstory, I think if you're a Steelers fan, you go, oh, that's a Steelers show. Like that, it's very immediately like obvious, and it's a kind of a cool inside baseball reference to the Steelers. So, dude, hey, I love you, man. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for how long have we gone? Like, god damn, an hour and 40 minutes.
Another short show, right?
It fly. I mean, yeah, I'm cursed, right? Every time I'm like, oh, it'll be quick. It never is. It's a Friday. Thank you for taking 2 hours out of your day on a Friday, man, to sit down with me and talk football and football and life, whatever this ended up being. So I love you, man. I appreciate you. Keep in touch, and thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, anytime.